AM Superstation, the future of radio. Hey, I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, September 22nd, 2020, and we are live. Hope everybody's doing well on this Sunday. We made it through another week and dealing with this crazy administration, dealing with Donald Trump's antics, trying to disenfranchise African-American voters who repudiated him at the box off at the ballot box, not the box office, the ballot box. Okay. And we're dealing with all these lawsuits that keep getting thrown out. Like one just got thrown out in Pennsylvania in the last couple of days. So we're dealing with all this, and we are still here. All right. So we are here Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to 12 midnight Eastern Standard Time now as of October 12th. And we're still on every Sunday, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we're on 6 days a week now for the African History Network show. So I've been covering this when the story broke Tuesday about the Wayne County Board of Canvassers, the Republicans on the board, and they didn't want to certify. We covered that story that night and ever since then. OK, so we're going to give you an update on what's going on. Now, I've been covering this every day on the African History Network show. We're going to give you an update on what's been going on. The NAACP has filed a lawsuit also suing the Trump administration. African Americans, here in Detroit filed a lawsuit as well. So we're going to deal with Black people are angry as Trump tries to disenfranchise our votes. Okay, Washington Post has a big article dealing with this, how African Americans are angry that Donald Trump is trying to disenfranchise our votes after he tried to get our votes, right? And we had enough sense to understand that his policies are not in our best interest. And what he's been doing for the past 3.5 years is not in our best interest. OK, we may have been born at night, but it sure as hell wasn't last night. So African Americans came out and we voted our interests. We voted for self-preservation, and we voted to evict the first Russian president of the United States out of the White House. Well, he's upset about that. So we see that they're trying to disenfranchise African Americans in Detroit and Atlanta and Philadelphia. You got a recount going on in Wisconsin, the two largest Democratic districts in Wisconsin. Those have the highest population of African Americans. And this continues, right? So we're going to deal with this on today's show. Black people are angry as Trump tries to disenfranchise our votes. Then we'll deal with the lawsuit the NAACP has filed. They filed a federal lawsuit claiming Trump violated the Voting Rights Act of 1965. We see a group of African-American Detroiters sue the Trump administration over voting rights abuses. Okay, so it continues. And we saw the leaders of the Michigan State House of Representatives and the State Senate, House Speaker Lee Chatfield, Republican, and Senate Majority Leader Mike Shirkey, we saw a Republican as well, of course. We saw they met with Donald Trump at the White House. And when they came away from the meeting, they basically said they're going to follow the law, which is what everybody was saying ahead of time. The Michigan state law does not allow the Michigan State Board of Canvassers to decide, it's arbitrary whether or not we certify these votes after 83 counties. There are 83 counties in Michigan. After 83 counties have certified the votes. So we see that the Trump administration, the Trump campaign, and these idiotic lawsuits they're filing, they keep getting thrown out of court. And we see Rudy Giuliani. He held a press conference a couple of days ago, and he had looks like hair dye dripping down the side of his face, spouting all these conspiracy theories. But what's interesting is when they go to court, in court, they're not arguing most of these conspiracy theories, and they're not even arguing fraud for most of these cases when they go to court either. So we'll talk about this, and then on today's show. Then I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday, September 20th. I'm a panelist on Roland Martin Unfiltered every every Friday. And we discussed this topic, of course. We also discussed, we also spoke with Dr. Jeffrey Canada. Dr. Jeffrey Canada, who was in the documentary Waiting for Superman, and he's a champion of charter schools. So we also had an interesting discussion with Dr. Jeffrey Canada, but we were dealing with teaching in the pandemic. And one of the things we talked about, because I got a chance to ask him a question, I asked him about how can parents who are having to work from home, they're lucky enough to be able to work from home, but they're having to work from home because of this global pandemic, and well, because of the pandemic in the U.S. It's global, but in the U.S. is worse than a lot of other places because of incompetent leadership in the White House, Donald Trump, who is spending more time trying to overturn the legal votes of people and legal votes of African Americans than he is trying to fight coronavirus. Okay. And, he's spending more time playing golf than fighting coronavirus, but that's a whole nother conversation. I asked him, how can parents manage their children going to school at home, at the kitchen table, online, while the parents are at home trying to work from home and keep everything together? Okay, so he has some very good pointers on that as well. I'm going to share that excerpt of the interview that Roland Martin did with Dr. Jeffrey Canada. He opened it up to the panel so we could ask questions. All right. Also, Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson was interviewed on MSNBC this morning on Ali Velshi. Okay, Ali Velshi show on MSNBC. She broke down how all this is going to proceed with the certification and all that. Very important interview. We're going to share that with you as well. And then we'll deal with some history. November 20th, 1923, Garrett A. Morgan patents the three-position traffic light. We're going to deal with that history of Garrett A. Morgan and the invention of the three-position traffic light. He patented that invention on November 20th, 1923. I didn't get a chance to talk about it on my Friday show because we had so much going on, but we'll talk about it today. All right. Oh man, we're up against a break already. I'll be doggone. Okay. Are we up against a break, Jalen? What the heck? 10 minutes. Oh, you know what, man? I'm looking at 11:22. I'm looking at the date, not the time. Okay. We take a break at the 20. I'm like, damn, man, where'd the time go? We passed the break. Okay. I'm looking at that's the first time that's happened, man. I'm looking at my computer. I'm looking at, because normally I'm on 11 p.m. at night, right? So I'm looking at 11:22. We're past the break. No, all right. Okay, so all right, so we'll talk about Garrett A. Morgan. Also back this past Tuesday, this past Wednesday, Reverend Wendell Anthony, president of the Detroit chapter of the NAACP, and Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan held a joint press conference to explain to the world the skullduggery and chicanery, okay, and the subterfuge that was taking place trying to disenfranchise African-American voters, specifically African-American voters in the city of Detroit, with our votes not being certified. Okay. During that interview, Reverend Wendell Anthony explained why so many African Americans vote for Democrats and not Republicans. And he talked specifically about policy. Not that we love Democrats. Most of us don't belong to the Democratic Party. We may vote for Democrats, but we don't necessarily belong to the party. But he explained why specifically we don't vote for Republicans. Okay. And we're going to share that with you because that's extremely important. All right. Okay. Now call in numbers 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600 is the call in number if you have a question or comment. Also, you can donate to the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, and then through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show, paypal.me the AHN show. Now, at the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's corrects wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man's thoughts, you can control the circumference of his actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We deal with current events in history and politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, relationships, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word KEMET, KEMET, to 22828. To sign up for our email newsletter, text the word KEMET, KEMET, to 22828. To sign up for our email newsletter, also visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, and you can sign up for our email newsletter there as well. Okay, and then also all of my DVD lectures are available at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, and we have digital downloads. We'll be shipping a lot of orders out this week as well. So thanks for your patience. All right, I want to jump into this. Let's see. Okay, we'll jump into this right before the break. Now, also, there's another clip I got to send you, Jalen. But I want to go to I want to go to this interview that Ali Velshi did with Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson. Okay, and everybody's been following what's been going on. Now, what's very interesting is that in 2016, Donald Trump asked African Americans, what the hell do you have to lose? We all remember that, right? What the hell do you have to lose? Then, after he won the presidential election through the Electoral College, because he lost the popular vote by 3 million, he actually came out and thanked African Americans for not voting for him, for not voting. And he said the ones that didn't vote were just as good, well, almost as good as the ones that voted for him. You all remember that? I remember it because I saw it live. I said, ain't this something? I used another word when it wasn't on the air. But I said, okay. So he thanked us last time. We spanked him this time. Now he's upset. I want to go to, let's go to this interview here. Michigan State Secretary, it's clear that the voters of Michigan have spoken and made a choice. Let's go to this clip.
Joining me now is the person upon whom all the light is shining, Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, who happens to be the Secretary of State, but she also literally wrote the book on the role that secretaries of state in each state should play in American elections. So she knows of what she speaks, which is why we are very pleased to have you on the show again to tell us what is happening now in Michigan, what is happening and what is likely to happen.
Well, I think it's, first of all, good to see you. Thanks for having me here today. And I think it's important to bifurcate between sort of facts and rules and laws and data and what some want people to believe is a potential perception of reality, but actually has no basis in the truth. And on the one side, it's very clear that the voters of Michigan have spoken. They've made a choice. There's no legal or factual basis to question that choice. And there are several protocols in place to protect that choice through the certification that we have every reason to expect will happen tomorrow. And then on the other hand has been, a very concerted effort, not just in Michigan, but across the country, not just after the election, but before, to misinform citizens, not just about their rights to vote, but now about whether their votes will ultimately count in the official record of the certification in Michigan. But the bottom line is, despite a significant amount of scrutiny on our elections here in Michigan, we've only revealed the truth, which is there are no irregularities, there's no widespread fraud, and that everyone in a position of authority has every reason to stand behind the will of the voters in our state.
So what is this request that has come from the Michigan GOP and the chair of the national GOP to delay the certification for 2 weeks? What's the thinking behind that?
Well, you have to ask those who made the request, but I can say this. The law is very clear, and the role of the state canvassers under the law is very clear. It's to certify the election. There's no legal authority under state law to do anything other than confirm the election results. And in addition to that, I've said repeatedly throughout my tenure as Secretary of State and even prior, the importance of auditing the elections after the fact is something that we've been planning to do 4 months. We've been preparing for a statewide risk limiting audit, as well as procedural audits at the local level, including in Wayne County. And importantly, those audits cannot begin until the state has certified the election results. So we've been also very clear about that, what the law says. And, we hope that the State Board of Canvassers does its job on Monday, plays its legal duty, so that we can also move forward in beginning that audit process, which is important to both confirm the integrity of our and the security of our elections, but also help us identify ways to improve for the future.
Now, given that you and I talk a few times a week now, give me some sense of what the likely outcome is on Monday and what the possible outside outcomes are. Because every time something goes wrong in Michigan, the rest of us, our anxiety level spikes. And then I see your tweets to say, it's okay, everything's unfolding as it should. It's going to be all right. So give me your range of possibilities on Monday.
Well, I just try to stay focused on history and what history has taught us to this point, which is all along the way, though we've had perhaps some bumps, the law has stood. The will of the people has been protected. Every county has certified the election results. And so I fully expect that the State Board of Canvassers to do the same tomorrow and play their legal role. Now, that said, there are also lots of protocols in place to address any type of abdication of responsibility. And so I imagine we'll see those play out as well. But the good thing is, the positive thing is to note that the people, again, have spoken. That is very clear. And again, there's a lot of protections in the law to ensure that will of the voters in Michigan carries the day. And I have every confidence that it will. And then again, I think it's important for people to note that there are and have been calls for audits of our elections. We planned those audits. We're ready to go once the certification happens. And again, importantly, remember, under state law, we can't begin the auditing process or anything else in that regard until the certification has happened.
Hey, pause right there, Jalen.
Chicken and egg situation.
Let's go to break.
Like audit.
Okay, we're going to continue this on the other side of the break, and then we'll talk about a lawsuit that African Americans in Detroit filed. We'll talk about the NAACP lawsuit, and we'll deal with some history. Listen to the African History Network show, 9:10 AM Superstation Future Radio. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. All right, stand by, everybody. Stand by. We're on commercial break. Call-in number is 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600. Jalen is my board operator tonight. He's at the radio station. I'm broadcasting from my office. All right, how's everybody doing? Got Ronald, W. Canty, Greg, Glenn, Robert. Okay, let's see here. Okay, we got this other clip here. Stand by to get ready for this next segment here. If you want to advertise with the African History Network, also email us at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com, customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. We'll let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network show. Let's see here. Jalen. All right, stand by. All right, let's see here. Okay, yeah, so this has made news all over the country. And this is more chicanery. This is more Republicans trying to undermine the African American vote. So if you think our vote doesn't matter, explain to me why Republicans working so hard to suppress our vote and undermine our vote. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 9:10 AM, the Superstation of Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, November 22nd, 2020. And we are live. Hope everybody's doing well. We made it through another week. And January 20th just can't come here fast enough. I'm serious. January 20th can't come here fast enough. Donald Trump keeps filing these ridiculous lawsuits. There was one in Pennsylvania that was thrown out yesterday. We'll talk about that. If you follow us on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, which you should, follow us there because we post these articles dealing with all this. Judge throws out Trump bid to stop Pennsylvania vote certification, and the judge threw that case out with prejudice, which means they can't come back. They can't appeal it. They can't come back. It's ridiculous. The overwhelming majority of these cases, there's no evidence. Okay, that's why they keep getting thrown out. All right, now Rudy Giuliani, it is rumored that Rudy Giuliani is charging the Trump campaign $20,000 a day. If that's the case, Donald Trump is dumber than I thought he was. To pay Rudy Giuliani $20,000 a day, you can get a second-year law student from University of Detroit or Wayne State's law school that can do better than this. Seriously, when I took my basic law class at Cass Technical High School in 11th grade, after I took that class, I can do better than Rudy Giuliani. I'm serious. In 11th grade. All right, this is just ridiculous what he's doing. He's just making a fool out of himself, you know. Well, I can't say he's making one because he already is one. He's just exposing the fact how big of a fool he is. All right, so right before the break, we're gonna go to the phone lines in just a minute. 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. We'll go to the phone lines in just a minute here. I want to go back to this clip. This is from November 22nd, 2020 on MSNBC. Ali Velshi was interviewing Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson. You've seen her on national news the past few days. And she's talking about the next steps in this process, certifying the votes from the 83 counties in the state of Michigan, including Wayne County. Wayne County is the county that Detroit is in. Wayne County is the largest county in the state of Michigan. Detroit is the largest city in the state of Michigan. Detroit is the blackest city also. She said it's clear that the voters of Michigan have spoken and made a choice. Let's go back to this clip.
Under state law, we can't begin the auditing process or anything else in that regard until the certification has happened.
So this is a chicken and egg situation. They would like auditing. You have not resisted the idea that you will conduct an audit, but they have to certify the election for you to audit it. And then they're saying, let's not certify the election until you audit it.
Well, it's also a legal situation. The law is clear on all these fronts. And so I'm simply just restating what the law is, which is very clearly the Bureau of Elections that conducts the audits along with our clerks can't have access to the documentation that's needed to conduct an audit until the elections are certified under state law. So that's fairly clear. And I'm just, in my job as the state chief election officer, letting everyone know what the law says, what the rules are, and also affirming my faith and my expectation, as we've seen all along the way, every step of this process, that not only our elections were secure, but that people can trust that the results are an accurate reflection of the will of the people and that will stand and carry the day.
But isn't that the real danger? Isn't that the real erosion here? That whatever happened in Michigan tomorrow with the certification and then the Electoral College in December and then the inauguration in January, what has happened here is these antics, this clown car of legal maneuvers around the country are eroding people's faith in the safety and security of the election.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm sure if not now, but before long, we'll begin turning to that wholeheartedly, which is that this moment, it's a moment and we're going to get through it. And when we get through it on the other side, we are going to have to address the lasting damage that these baseless, meritless attacks have had on our democracy and on citizens' faith in our democracy. As election administrators, we work hard every day to ensure that no matter how someone votes or who they vote for, they can and rightly have faith in our process. And so working to rebuild that faith, working to bring people together to affirm the security, integrity, and access of our elections moving forward is going to be the work for all of us ahead to dive into.
A whole lot of people who I don't think were interested in reading a book about Secretary of State might newly be interested in reading this book that you have written. Jocelyn Benson is not just Michigan Secretary of State. She's the author of a book called Secretaries of State, Guardians of the Democratic process. So thank you for writing that. This gets onto everybody's reading list now. Jocelyn Benson, thanks for being with us again. We appreciate your time this morning.
Okay, so that was from MSNBC, Ali Velshi, Sunday, November 22nd, 2020, interviewed Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson on the next steps here. So I thank Ali Velshi for doing that interview. Also, he had Roland Martin on as well. It was either Saturday or Sunday. So we're going to share an excerpt of that clip also. I want to go to this. So we saw Saturday, it was 7 Republicans in total, but the 2 leaders of the state legislature here in Michigan, House Speaker Lee Chatfield, Republican, and Senate Majority Leader Mike Shirkey, Republican. They met with Donald Trump at the White House. Basically, they told him that there's no mechanism for them to overturn the will of the voters. This is basically what happened. Now, they said they talked about issues with Michigan and how Michigan needs government help, things like this. But if we look at the reporting from the Detroit News, and once again, calling numbers 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600 is a call-in number. Also, I want to deal with this. Is a big article Washington Post had. It's a front page article Washington Post had from Saturday, November 21st, I think is when it came out. Anger builds in Black community over Trump's claims of voter fraud in big cities. Anger builds in Black community over Trump's claims of voter fraud in big cities. But very quickly here, a group of Michigan House Republicans arrived at the White House Friday afternoon to meet with Donald Trump as his supporters pushed to overturn the results of the state's election. Yeah, they met Friday. With the eyes of the nation on Michigan's GOP lawmakers, White House spokesman Brian Morgenstern told reporters the event was an opportunity for the president to meet with legislators. He said, "I believe these are Republican legislators who are fans of the president, admire the president. They've spoken to this. I think they issued some statements that they are excited to meet him and share ideas and thoughts. I don't have any more specifics about that at this time." End quote. Now, Bob Bauer, who's a legal advisor for President-elect Joe Biden's campaign, Bob Bauer blasted the meeting between the president and the Republican leaders of the Michigan House and Senate as the state of Michigan prepares to certify its election results as early as Monday, November 23rd. Bob Bauer said it's an abuse of office. It's an open attempt to intimidate election officials. It's absolutely appalling. Bauer said Friday morning that it's, quote, not possible, end quote, not possible for the Republican-controlled Michigan legislature to redirect the state's electoral votes to Donald Trump. Now, Joe Biden won the state of Michigan by about 155,000 votes. There's 16 electoral college votes associated with the state of Michigan. Seven Michigan Republican lawmakers participated in the trip to Washington, D.C., as the Detroit News reported. Okay. Now, you have House Speaker Lee Chatfield, a Republican, Senate Majority Leader Mike Shirkey, a Republican. They were joined at the White House by members of the state House of Representatives also. All right. Now, despite criticism from Democrats, House Speaker Lee Chatfield welcomed the opportunity to meet with Trump. He said, no matter the party, when you have an opportunity to meet with the president of the United States, of course you take it. The House Speaker tweeted on Friday, November 20th, "I want to apologize for that. In fact, I'm honored to speak with POTUS, President of the United States, and proud to meet with him. And I look forward to our conversation," end quote. Now, Bob Bauer, who is a legal advisor for the President-elect Joe Biden, served as White House counsel under former President Barack Obama. And we know that Joe Biden won Michigan 51% to 48% and got about 154,000 more votes than Donald Trump. Trump's campaign is claiming that there are enough illegitimate ballots in the state to swing the results, but the campaign has not provided evidence that would suggest the type of widespread fraud it is alleging. And a Wayne County judge has labeled the campaign's claims, quote, not credible, end quote. Now, federal law gives states until December 8th, which is known as the safe harbor, to certify their results. They have to states have until December 8th to certify results, and then we know the Electoral College votes on December 14th. All right, so you have Detroiters who have filed a lawsuit also. Okay, and I want to go to that clip here from WXYZ Channel 7. Jalen. I sent you the second email. You got that clip about the black voters suing Trump?
Got it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So WXYZ Channel 7 in Detroit, they have an article at that website, WXYZ.com. I posted this on our Facebook fan page, the African History Network, on Saturday, November 21st. It got, last time I checked, which was earlier today, it got like 1,300 likes. Okay. Group of black voters in Detroit suing President Trump, citing voting rights abuses and disenfranchisement. All right, let's go to this clip.
Yeah, good evening. We're here at the TCF Center, which was the scene of some contentious moments during election week. It was also where all of Detroit's absentee ballots were counted. Now, the Trump campaign has made some allegations about what went on here, and now some Detroit voters are firing back.
I was just having a delightful trip to Washington, D.C. today.
On the heels of a White House visit from Michigan State Senator Mike Shirkey and Speaker Lee Chatfield, voters in Detroit are now filing a lawsuit of their own, accusing the Trump campaign of disenfranchising black voters by pressuring local and state leaders not to certify the election.
If we were in a different country, this would be called a coup, a political coup. That's what this is.
The NAACP Legal Defense Fund says they filed the lawsuit in a D.C. court on Friday on behalf of the Michigan Welfare Rights Organization and Detroit voters like Maureen Taylor.
It's more than a slap in the face. It just brought about a great sense of sadness and remorse that we would have Americans say, these folks over here, their votes don't count.
This comes after the Wayne County Board of Canvassers nearly voted against certifying the county's results after some Detroit precincts were out of balance. The lawsuit points out the same issue happened before, and it only impacts roughly 400 votes.
We have the right to vote. In case y'all didn't get the memo, we be free now. You can vote, and our vote counts.
It's unclear how far the lawsuit will go in court, but Taylor says it's not only about winning, it's about getting others to speak out against what they say is an attempt to silence black voices.
That's what I hope. We can encourage folks to stand up and do the right thing during this stressful period where folks on all sides are in pain. That's what I hope.
Now, we did reach out to the Trump campaign for comment on this lawsuit and have not heard back. The Michigan Board of Canvassers will be meeting on Monday to certify Michigan's election results. Reporting here in Detroit, I'm Brett Cass, 7 Action News.
All right. Excellent reporting from WXYZ Channel 7 here in Detroit. Okay. And Detroit's making national news once again, not for the wrong reason. Okay. Well, I could make a joke, but I ain't gonna make that joke right now. I'm not I could make a joke, but I'm not gonna do it. It would not be politically correct, but anyway. Okay, so all right, here, look, let's go to the phone lines. Let's go to line 1. Let's go to Paul, line 1. Welcome to the African History Network show. Tell us where you're calling from, Paul. Thanks for holding.
Hello.
Yeah, Paul, you're on the air. Tell us
from Detroit.
From Detroit. Okay, thanks for holding. Thanks for calling in. Go ahead with your question. Can you hear me? Paul, can you hear me? Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead with your question or comment.
You can hear me now. Thanks. Yeah. Well, you know, when the vote took place that night down at TCF Center down there, now they came from the suburbs riding down there like they, you know, back like in Wall Street, like how they burned down Wall Street.
Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Black Wall Street.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like they came in about to do something, knocking, banging on the windows and door.
Yep.
What they was going to do if they tried to get up in there? You think people going to stand there and let them days are over with?
Right. Well, they call the police on them. When the people, when the self-proclaimed, hold on just a second, I'm gonna let you finish. But when you had self-proclaimed poll watchers who were Donald Trump supporters, when they ran up in there inside the TCF Center where the poll workers were actually counting the votes, they called the police on them. And I know at least one of them was escorted out by the police. WXYZ Channel 7 has the video on their website. And people were clapping, you know, and the people who were calling for defunding the police, I don't think they were calling for defunding the police then. But go ahead and finish your point.
Yes, but Detroit police did a good job of that.
Right.
But here's my thing: it reminds me of how white people get mad at black folks back in the day, in the 20s and whatever, right through their town, burn up and do all that ignorant stuff. That's not happening no more. But you got to help me out here now.
Okay.
My son, he listens to your program now. He started getting into it because he voted and some young people in my family. But help me out here now. You're saying about policy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a Democratic. I don't vote Republican, but I vote for the policy.
Sure.
I would really like to know, out of the 70-something million people that voted for Donald Trump,
mm-hmm.
how many of them their unemployment check to unemployment check, okay, and voted for him?
Right.
You know what the Democratic plan is, the 600 a week plus the additional, and the Republicans are not offering nothing. How many people in Kentucky voting for Mitch McConnell? He's the one holding it up.
Right. He got reelected.
He got his own unemployment. That's going to affect you personally. They're voting for a party that don't care nothing about you.
In a lot of these Republican states, a lot of these red states, they have a higher poverty rate. Like Alabama, Kentucky, things like that. A lot of them have a higher poverty rate. Mm-hmm. Senator Mitch McConnell, Kentucky, was reelected in this November 3rd election. He beat the Democratic challenger Amy McGrath, who was a weak challenger, but so because he's currently Senate Majority Leader, he controls the Senate. He let the Senate go on recess for Thanksgiving. Back in, I think it was July, he let the Senate go on recess for a month, and they had not come to a consensus with Democrats on another coronavirus bill to help everyday citizens and to extend the $600 a week in federal unemployment insurance that expired July 31st. Mm-hmm. Now, people need to keep in mind, Democrats in May 2020 in the House of Representatives passed a $3.4 trillion HEROES Act, which was the next coronavirus bill, next coronavirus stimulus bill, and it then went to the House. Okay. The Republicans came out with their $1.8 trillion bill, but the allocation of the money is different. It benefits corporations more so than it benefit everyday citizens. Then they came out with their $500 billion skinny bill, and they haven't really come out with anything since then. But this is an example of how elections have consequences. So hopefully with these two Senate races, these runoff Senate races in Georgia, January 5th, 2020. This is why all eyes are on Georgia. Mm-hmm. If Democrats win those two seats, Reverend Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff, if they win those two seats, Democrats will be in control of the Senate. And even though Mitch McConnell will be the leader of the Republicans, he won't be Senate Majority Leader. Chuck Schumer will be Senate Majority Leader, and you'll be able to get in general more bills, more positive bills that the beneficial African Americans passed through the Senate in general. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right, man. What's your son's name?
Yeah, but my son's name is Brent.
Brent. Okay.
So here's the thing.
Mhm.
So these people that are voting against their own personal interests. There's plenty of black Republicans, white Republicans that's on unemployment, man. Let
Right.
check the check.
Well,
Struggling.
well,
and
what?
vote for a party.
Well, what happens
I
is.
want to do anything for you. I work with one guy.
Mhm.
He tell me, "Oh, it's the judges and everything." Blah blah blah. I say, "Yeah, whatever." I say, "They living good, eating good. Them federal judges getting checks." I say, "You out here struggling. Why would you vote for somebody that's going to affect you for a policy that's not going to help you whatsoever?" When that 600 was rolling, that helped out the country, that helped out the economy, that helped out people. You know what I'm saying, man? I'm just
So let me break this down for you in this short period of time, and we got other calls to get to. They voted because of white supremacy and cultural anxiety. They voted because of white supremacy and cultural anxiety. When they talk about they voted because of the federal judges, this goes also back to 2016. In 2016, I've explained this before to people on this show. I was doing nationally syndicated radio 5 days a week in 2016. I was on the Empowerment Radio Network. I was doing my show, the Michael Imhotep Show. I was doing 9:10 AM Superstation 2 days a week. I was also guest hosting Roland Martin's nationally syndicated radio show as well. I watched 100 campaign speeches and interviews, at least, that Donald Trump did. And I also saw numerous interviews with Donald Trump supporters and focus groups they had with them and Republicans in general. In 2016, Republicans made the courts a big issue, the control of the federal courts and the U.S. Supreme Court. Okay.
Mhm.
Those are nominations made by the president.
Yeah.
In 2014, when Democrats lost control of the U.S. Senate, Mitch McConnell and Republicans in the Senate blocked 105 nominations by President Barack Obama to the federal courts. They blocked the nomination that he made in the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals, which also covers Chicago. It was an African-American female judge named Myra Selby. They blocked her nomination as well. President Barack Obama in 2016 nominated Myra Selby, who was a judge to the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals. The Republicans in the Senate did not give her a hearing, just like they did not give Merrick Garland a hearing, who was President Barack Obama's nominee for Supreme Court. Okay, so there were 105 vacancies on the federal in the federal courts for judges when Trump becomes president. And Trump has gotten 225 federal judges confirmed, because this past week they just confirmed another 5. All right.
Wow.
But when Trump became president through the Electoral College, because we understand how the Electoral College works, most of us, they then filled that Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals with a woman named Amy Coney Barrett. So Amy Coney Barrett got the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals judge seat, which was stolen from an African-American woman named Myra Selby, who was nominated by President Barack Obama. Then when Ruth Bader Ginsburg dies, they then rush through Amy Coney Barrett to get her confirmed on the U.S. Supreme Court. The day after she was confirmed, Mitch McConnell let the U.S. Senate go on a recess, and they still hadn't passed a coronavirus bill to bail out the American citizens. And even the white Republicans that voted for them, they didn't even pass a bill to bail them out. So if people read this article here from The Atlantic, this goes back to 2016. Hold on just one second. I'll let you finish just a second. This goes back to 2016. Read this article. This is May 9th, 2017. This deals with what happened after the election. It was cultural anxiety that drove white working class voters to Trump. Now, I've dealt with this because I've done an entire lecture dealing with what happened in the 2016 presidential election. Okay, it's called African American Resistance in the Era of Donald Trump: Voter Suppression, Reparations, and How Elections Have Consequences. And I go deep into this and deal with a lot of history going back to 1968 and Richard Nixon. And Richard Nixon in 68 ran on the platform of law and order. And Donald Trump in 2016 ran on the platform of law and order. Richard Nixon was a backlash to the Black Power movement, the Civil Rights movement, the Voting Rights Act of 64, Voting Rights Act of 65, Civil Rights Act of 64, affirmative action, and the rebellions taking place across this country. Donald Trump in 2016 was a backlash to 2 terms of President Barack Obama. He was a backlash to the Black Lives Matter movement, backlash to holding police officers accountable, but also he tapped into the cultural anxiety and the fear that white people, some white people, not all white people, but some white people have of the year 2043. In the year 2043 is when demographers and the U.S. Census Bureau estimate that white people will no longer be a majority population in this country. So what many Republicans want to do is control the federal courts for the next 25, 30, 35, 40 years. So this is why they made the federal judges a big issue in 2016. They made the federal judges a big issue again in 2020, but many of us learned, wait a second, hold on. Y'all ramming through all these judges, okay? These are lifetime appointments, okay? But that's what this is about. So they realize we're going to lose. We're not going to be the majority population in this country come 2043, but we want to control the federal courts. And when you can overrule laws made in the legislative branch of government and the judicial branch of government. This is the long game they're playing. See, many of us don't understand this because we don't understand history, don't understand law. That they're saying, okay, we may lose population, but we're gonna maintain the courts, okay? And the courts can overrule the legislative branch of government. Exactly. They're fighting for raw, naked power, but it's also trying to preserve genetic white survival. That's why this article from The Atlantic is so important. It was cultural anxiety that drove white working class voters to Trump. A new study finds that fear of societal change, not economic pressure, motivated votes for the president among non-salaried workers without college degrees. This is from May 9th, 2017. There were other articles that came out that said the same thing. Okay. All right, man, we got to run. I got to get these other callers. Okay. All right. Keep listening. All right. No problem. Keep listening, man. All right. Thanks. Okay. Let's see who we have. John. Okay. Hey, John, let's go to time. Okay. Let's squeeze him in before the break. John, let's go to line 2. John, welcome to the African History Network Show. Tell us where you're calling from.
I'm calling from Brooklyn.
From Brooklyn. Okay. Brooklyn, New York. What's up, man? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. Just a couple things on my mind. I want to ask you 2 quick questions.
Okay, go ahead. You hear me? Yeah. Is
Trump the president?
Say again?
I said if there is no COVID, does Trump win the election?
If there is no COVID, does Trump win the election?
Right. That's number 1.
Okay.
Number 2, if Obama pulled these shenanigans, what would have happened to him?
Okay, let's take number 1, then we'll go to number 2 because I talked about number 2 before. If there is no COVID, would Trump still be president? Huh? Okay, if there is no COVID, would Trump still be president? I think it would be harder for Biden to win. He would have to focus more on the economy because he was what some people still don't understand is that the economy that Trump brags about, he inherited a largely healthy economy from the Obama administration. There were 113 consecutive months of private sector job growth that ended under Trump, that started under President Obama. Okay. When President Obama took the oath of office, January 9th, 2009, the economy was losing between 700,000 and 800,000 jobs a month. All right. So they pulled the economy back from the brink of total collapse. 1, 2, they also saved the auto industry. Okay, with the bailout of General Motors and Chrysler, that saved the auto industry. That saved 1 million jobs. Under President Obama, you had so you had that. You had the Affordable Health Care Act, which created 1 million jobs. You had a total of about 15 million jobs created under the Obama administration. 2.95 million jobs went to African Americans. If you go to BLS.gov, Bureau of Labor Statistics, you can research this information there. So the economy that Trump brags about, now this is not the greatest economy in the history of the world or history of America. And you look at that based upon percentage of GDP, gross domestic product. It's not. All right. But even though there were problems in the economy that he inherited, it was largely a healthy economy. It's much better than the one President Obama inherited. Okay. So the strategy would be, even though Biden did talk about the economy, he would have had to attack the economy more and show how Trump inherited a healthy economy, and he's largely squandered a healthy economy as well. He's largely squandered it also, and doesn't know what to do, and doesn't really care about what to do with the economy either. When you look at the bailout of the auto industry, it saved 1 million jobs. Donald Trump was against the bailout. Not only was Donald Trump against the bailout, he said what the auto companies should do is they should move their plants to states that don't have unions. Largely a lot of Republican southern states don't have unions, so that employees will be forced to pay whatever you want to pay them. This is what Trump said. Okay. So then you look at the Affordable Health Care Act that you had a lot of people who were against, but now they're for it, and it's saving white people's lives. Affordable Health Care Act gave health care to about at least 20 million people, 3 million of them African Americans. The Affordable Health Care Act gave health care to 3 million non-elderly African Americans who did not already have health care. If you go to whitehouse.gov, and we'll post a link here also. You go to whitehouse.gov and you search for the document Progress of the African American Community under the Obama administration. All that is right there at whitehouse.gov, and it shows how President Obama's policies positively impacted the African American community. And a lot of them Trump has either attacked or reversed. There are less African Americans today who have health care than when Trump came into office. 1, 2, Trump's Attorney General, William Barr, is in court now, and the case went before the U.S. Supreme Court. Now, that's a weak case, but went before the U.S. Supreme Court November 10th, 2020, the week after the presidential election. And they're trying to repeal the entire Affordable Health Care Act and kick 20 million people at least off of health care during a global pandemic, but also repeal pre-existing conditions. The rule dealing with pre-existing conditions, and there are about 102 million people in the country with pre-existing conditions as well. So secondly, and we're coming up on a break here. Let me know how much time before the break, Jalen. If President Obama did 1/10 of this, he would have been impeached and removed from office. If President Obama did 1/20th of this, he would have been impeached and removed from office with a quickness. It wouldn't be, no, I think he learned his lesson or anything like that. Oh, no, especially Republicans. Oh, no. I mean, Republicans almost wanted to impeach President Obama for wearing a tan suit during Easter. You remember that? They almost wanted to impeach him for wearing a tan suit. So, he would have been impeached and removed. He would have been removed from office with a quickness if he did 1/20th of this. All right. You listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. Give us a call, 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. If you have a question or comment. Hey, Ronald Williams, man, we got your donation. Thanks, brother. Really appreciate that. We're here 6 days a week, and I'm trying to figure out how to I got to readjust everything, my sleep schedule, everything, to be here 6 days a week. Okay. So if you want to donate to the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show, paypal.me/the AHN Show, or at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Because we were here 1 day a week for 4 years, basically. Well, the African History Network show. Now we're here 6 days a week. So I had to change my sleep schedule. There's more research, and so that helps finance the show, pay the bills, etc. Keep us on the air. All right, we'll be back in a few minutes. All right, everybody stand by. All right, how's everybody doing? Okay, we got Mary G in the house. You got Chip. Okay, let me post it again. Call in 313-778-7600. 7600. 313-778-7600 is the calling number. All right. And so we're here Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to midnight, and then Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Okay. We're here 2 hours on Sunday nights. I've been in this Sunday time slot for 4 years. Okay. If you want to advertise with the African History Network show, email us at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. Customer service at africanhistorynetwork.com. And we'll let you know how you can advertise with us. And we create a commercial for you, create a video commercial for you as well. And your commercials will air also during the audio podcast of our shows. All these shows are podcasted on 9 different podcast platforms, including iHeartRadio and Castbox. So in the audio podcast as well, people hear your commercial, but when we re-air the video broadcast of these shows, they'll see your video commercial. Email us at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. I'm not doing money order. We'll post information here if you want to send a donation through money order. Anita, thanks. Okay, Chip. Okay, hold on. I got to get ready for this next segment. Hold on. Let me see. Where are we in the show? All right, we're on commercial break. We'll be back in just a second here. Okay, we got to talk about this NAACP lawsuit. And then let me see. Roland was on. How's everybody doing? So y'all can call in from around the country, around the world. I'm ready for tonight's show. Oh, man. All right, stand by. I want to try to pull up this clip here. We'll be back from break in like 1 minute. I got to get this other clip next. Okay.
Detroit, 910 AM Superstation, a division of Adele Media.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM the Superstation, a division of Adele Media. See, I do voiceover. I can do that. All right. I can guest host the Michael Imhotep show. Family. That's some fragganackle bull. I can do that too. I can do all these jobs. You know, I ain't part Jamaican, but maybe I am. I don't know. You know, it's quite possible. But anyway. All right. Hey, I'm gonna send you this clip here, Jalen. This is Roland being interviewed on Ali Velsh's show. But let's continue. I want to deal with this lawsuit from the NAACP. So we talked about it in this segment from WXYZ Channel 7.com. Group of black voters in Detroit suing President Trump. A group of black voters in Detroit suing President Trump, citing voting rights abuses and disenfranchisement. So that's from WXYZ Channel 7 here in Detroit. Good reporting from them. We're going to post that link here on the thread of the broadcast as well. Everybody check that out. I posted an article on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, from HuffingtonPost.com. NAACP Legal Defense Fund lawsuit. Trump violated Voting Rights Act. NAACP Legal Defense Fund lawsuit. Trump violated Voting Rights Act. So this is from November 21st, 2020, Saturday, November 21st, 2020. Okay. The NAACP Legal Defense Fund filed a federal lawsuit on behalf of African-American Michigan voters against Donald Trump and his campaign on Friday, November 20th, accusing both of violating the Voting Rights Act. The lawsuit filed in U.S. District Court in Washington, D.C., argued that Trump is pressuring election officials not to certify votes in Michigan based on false allegations of election fraud in an attempt to suppress votes particularly those of African Americans, in an attempt to suppress votes, particularly those of African Americans. The fraud allegations have been, quote, consistently debunked, and the campaign's litigation attempts turned away by courts in several states, end quote, Sherilyn Ifill, president and director counsel of the NAACP Legal Defense Fund and Educational Fund, Inc., said in a statement, quote, the president's use of dog whistles to suggest the illegitimacy of votes cast by Black voters in Detroit, Philadelphia, Milwaukee, and Atlanta are an appeal to a dangerous and corrosive racialized narrative of voter fraud, she said. Let me repeat this. The president, Donald Trump, the president's use of dog whistles to suggest the illegitimacy of votes cast by Black voters in Detroit, Philadelphia, Milwaukee, and Atlanta are an appeal to a dangerous and corrosive racialized narrative of voter fraud. The article goes on to say the lawsuit argued that the president's, quote, tactics repeat the worst abuses in our nation's history, as Black Americans were denied a voice in American democracy for most of the first 2 centuries of the republic, end quote. Now, defendants are, quote, openly seeking to disenfranchise Black voters, including voters in Detroit, Michigan, the suit alleged. Quote, repeating false claims of voter fraud, which have been thoroughly debunked, defendants are pressuring state and local officials in Michigan not to count votes for Wayne County, Michigan. Wayne County, Michigan is the county that Detroit, Michigan is in, and thereby disenfranchise hundreds of thousands of voters, end quote. Now, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which we've talked about here on this show numerous times, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, quote, protects against efforts to intimidate or coerce officials to disenfranchise Black voters, Sherilyn Ifill said. Let me repeat. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 protects against efforts to intimidate or coerce officials to disenfranchise Black voters. Now, the lawsuit called for Donald Trump or his campaign to halt any efforts to disenfranchise voters. The NAACP Legal Defense Fund sued on behalf of 3 Black residents of Detroit and the Michigan Welfare Rights Organization. Neither the White House nor the Trump campaign immediately responded to requests from the Huffington Post for comment on the lawsuit. Okay, so check out the rest of this article here from Huffington Post. HuffingtonPost.com. NAACP Legal Defense Fund lawsuit, Trump violated Voting Rights Act. Okay, and that's what the reporting from WXYZ Channel 7 here in Detroit was talking about as well. So this is where laws come in, policies. This is where laws come in. Violation potentially of the 1965 Voting Rights Act, which I think it is. Violation of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. All right. There was an article from, we'll go back to the phone lines in just a minute here. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. If you have a question or comment, when we go back to the phone lines, we'll go to Chuck and David in just a minute here. Washington Post had a big article. It had a front page article. We posted this on our fan page, the African History Network. This one was from Saturday. I think this was from Saturday, November 21st. I think this was. Anger builds in Black community over Trump's claims of voter fraud in big cities. And in the article, it says when Wisconsin Republicans opened an office earlier this year, earlier 2020, when they opened an office in the historical Brownsville neighborhood, it was meant to be a physical symbol of President Trump's commitment to urban voters. Okay. Now I saw these Trump campaign offices opening up in African American communities. I was like, oh, okay. There's some more fraggle bull right here. Signs on the window declared Black Voices Matter. Black Voices Matter. And the address was on, and the address was on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. But on Friday, November 20th, 2020, after the November 3rd election, as state officials began recounting ballots in Milwaukee County, where you got a lot of African Americans that live, okay, started recounting ballots in Milwaukee County at the request of Trump's failed re-election campaign. The office had become, for many residents, a symbol of Republican hypocrisy. Okay, now, you know, we talked about the whole voter realignment. We talked about the whole party realignment that completed in the mid to late 60s, where Democrats switched from, well, African Americans switched from the Republican Party to Democratic Party. But you're going to have a lot of Southern segregationists, Democrats or Dixiecrats, leave the Democratic Party, go to the Republican Party. You're going to have some Republicans who switch over from the Republican Party to the Democratic Party. That party realignment didn't start in the 60s. That party realignment goes back to 1928 and what's known as the Lily White Movement of 1928. So when I hear a lot of these black conservatives, Candace Owens, a lot of them don't understand history. Candace Owens, a lot of them, talk about this stuff. Southern strategy don't exist. No, that's not true. Republicans used a Southern strategy in 1928 to appeal to 5 former Confederate states to get the Southern segregationist Democrats in those states to vote for the Republican Herbert Hoover in the 1928 presidential election. That's how Herbert Hoover got elected. It's called the Lily White Movement of 1928. And this was a movement to ignore the issues and concerns of African Americans and push us out of the Republican Party. They were ignoring the rise of the Ku Klux Klan. You're going to have more African Americans moving up north. Also, this is towards the beginning of the Great Migration, 1915 to 1970, and we're facing racism and attacks as we move into these white communities, these other communities, or we're facing segregation and things like this. There's competition for jobs, there's competition over housing. So this whole Lily White movement in 1928 is what starts African Americans to slowly go over to the Democratic Party. Then in the 1932 presidential election, because Herbert Hoover mishandled the Great Depression, okay, and he mishandled the Great Depression, and then this set it up for Franklin Roosevelt to win the 1932 presidential election. And African Americans were going to slowly go over to the Democratic Party because we saw them more receptive to our issues, and in general, their policies started being better for us than Republicans, and like policies of the New Deal. Even though some of those policies of the New Deal discriminated against us because the resources were given to the states to distribute, but a lot of policies were more beneficial for us, and you're dealing with a depression. Okay. Then in 1947, the 1947-1948 presidential election, Democrats have a more pro-civil rights platform. So that caused some more of us to move over as well. And in 1947, Strom Thurmond, who was a Republican, Strom Thurmond, who was a Democrat at the time, Southern segregationist Democrat, he ran as a Dixiecrat, 1947 presidential election. He loses. He's eventually going to leave the Democratic Party and go to the Republican Party. So you're going to have this party realignment that takes place. The seeds go back to the 1920s. It completes in the mid to late 60s, especially after Senator Barry Goldwater of Arizona, who was a Republican, ran for president in 1964, and he ran in opposition to civil rights and the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Okay, so that's a brief overview of a 3-hour lecture I've done dealing with why African Americans switched from the Republican Party to the Democratic Party and dealing with this history of this whole party realignment. But I say that to say this. I find it very interesting that when you got a lot of these black conservatives, and we had one on Roland Martin Unfiltered, F. Lee Francis, who's from the Federalist Society, and I give him credit. You can watch the November 20th, 2020 edition of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I give him credit because he got grilled for about 30 minutes. Most of them won't do that because Candace Owens still been running. She's been running from Roland for about 3 years now. So her legs, she must be training for a marathon or something. Her legs should be tired by now. She's doing so much running. But Many of them don't want to talk about the compromise of 1877, which ended Reconstruction. So November 7th, 1876, November 7th, we talked about the November 7th of this year was the anniversary of the November 7th, 1876 presidential election, where Rutherford B. Hayes did not have enough electoral college votes to become president. He was running against the Democrat Samuel J. Tilden. And this is going to lead to what's known as the Compromise of 1877, where Republicans, in exchange for Rutherford B. Hayes to become president, they said, we'll remove the Union troops out of the South. The Democrats agreed to that because the Union troops were in the South to a certain extent enforcing the laws and the rights of African Americans, the former enslaved, African Americans. The Democrats wanted them removed from the South so they can really reinstate white supremacy. Republicans agreed to that. It's called the Compromise of 1877. How did these black conservatives don't talk about that? I just find it very interesting. We can talk about history. We can talk about negative things Democrats have done. We can talk about negative things Republicans have done. We can talk about both of them. I just find it interesting that if you want to talk about the fact that African Americans used to be Republicans, you don't want to talk about how Reconstruction ended. Okay. Well, that's what you want to do. Okay. Let's go back to the phone lines. Let's go to who we have next. We have Kimberly. We have Dave. Is Dave still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, is this Dave? Hey, Dave. Welcome to the African History Network show. Thanks for holding. Tell us where you're calling from, Dave.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, brother.
Where you calling from, Dave?
Can you hear me now, brother?
Yeah. What city you calling from?
I just want to hit on a couple of things. You had a brother call in talking about people out here voting, and like you said, man, this is not back in the day where we sitting back letting people run all over us at the voting polls. Right. They got these clown people out here, these militias. They got these other people out here talking about the Proud Boys. Let the Proud Boys come around in these neighborhoods when it's time to vote and see if they don't get some feedback on them.
Right.
You know what? I'm saying white people got to stop doing this, man. This is not back in the day when my grandparents they couldn't vote. Period.
Right.
And then when they tried to get vote, they would get stopped. Those days are over with, and I'm gonna say it.
Right.
White folks, these people in these white militias, they got to stop this, man. Because you know what, brother? The bottom line is we are not going anywhere.
Right.
We all have to live together on this planet, brother.
Right.
We all got to breathe the same air, period.
Right.
COVID viruses out here right now. And these clown people out here not wearing masks. It's serious out here and it's dangerous. And I want to say something about these federal judges.
Okay.
None of them are black. They Trump put on the bench. Matter of fact,
no. It's 10. There are 10 of them. Last count, there were 10 out of 225 that are African American. One is from Flint. One is a sister from Flint, Michigan. But there are 10 out of 225 that have gotten confirmed that African American. Go ahead.
Okay, I stand corrected, brother. But he just put another woman on the bench. I think she like
33 years old.
She don't even have enough experience, and she got a lifetime
right. She never tried a case before. Yep. The American Bar Association. The American Bar. Just 1 second. I'll let you finish. Just 1 second. The American Bar Association came out and said she was unqualified. Once again, and they could, and Republicans in the Senate confirmed her anyway. Go ahead and finish your point.
Right, and I'm gonna say this: imagine if Maxine Waters did what Lindsey Graham was doing. Lindsey Graham was calling her to be brought to court and be arrested.
Exactly.
Brother. And everybody knows these people, brother. I don't think a lot of people understand what the hell is happening here, man. And there has been Maxine Waters.
You ain't lying, brother.
They would have people on CNN, MSNBC, want to know why she's not getting charged with something.
Exactly, man.
Hey, thanks for taking the call, brother.
Okay.
See you every night. Thanks.
Okay,
Bye.
thanks, man. Thanks. And then he's correct. If Maxine Waters, Congresswoman from California, if Maxine Waters was calling a Secretary of State in Georgia trying to tell them how to verify ballots, you know every Republican will be all over Fox News, MSNBC. Now, a lot of Republican senators don't want to do interviews on MSNBC. Oh, they'll be on, all of them will be on MSNBC, CNN, doing interviews. There will be commercials talking about how unjust this is, and she's trying to interfere with democracy and all this, and she needs to be removed from office. All type of stuff like this. Most of the Republican senators are silent on what Trump is doing. Most of these Republican senators are silent on what Trump is doing. We're coming up on a break. Let me say this. These Republican senators are traitors to the country, with the exception of Mitt Romney. Why? Because in early February 2020, when they had a chance to remove him from office in the impeachment trial, they voted to acquit him, and they violated their oath to defend the Constitution against enemies, both foreign and domestic. They violated their oath to defend the country against enemies, both foreign and domestic, to defend the Constitution against enemies, both foreign and domestic. So they're traitors to the country. Now, Mitt Romney was the only Republican who had the testicular fortitude to vote, at least on one count, to remove Trump from office. All the rest of them are cowards. When they're up for re-election, they should be voted out of office. So when the history books are written and they talk about Benedict Donald, that's Donald Trump's new name, Benedict Donald, like Benedict Arnold. They talk about Benedict Donald, and they talk about the accomplices of Benedict Donald. Every last one of those traitorous Republican senators, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, Lamar Alexander, Marco Rubio, spineless Ted Cruz, spineless Lindsey Graham, all of their names should be up there as accomplices, but also Emily Murphy, who heads up the GSA, who is not signing off on the transition, so funds could go to the president-elect so they can fund the transition. Her name should be up there also. I said it. Yeah, her name should be up there also. Now, if she goes ahead and signs off on it like she should, because she also took an oath. She didn't take an oath to an administration. She didn't take an oath to serve a president. She took an oath to uphold the Constitution as well. Okay, so time would tell, but her name should be up there also. 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. Okay, 2 minutes before the break. That was 2 minutes ago, so I guess we should go to break. You listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation Future Radio. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by, everybody. How's everybody doing? All right, stand by. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. So we're here Monday through Friday. We're here Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to 12 midnight. You can call in then. And then Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. I'm doing radio 6 days a week now. If you want to advertise with the African History Network, email us at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. Customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. African American business owners. And your commercials will air when we broadcast on our social media platforms and in the audio podcast of our shows also. So yeah, email us at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. All right, how you doing, Renee? How you doing, Renee? She said you're on fire. All right, let's see. Okay, hold on. Let me see. We got another clip to get to. Let me see. We got to make sure we get to all this stuff. All right. I want to try to get all this information in. Then we got a whole bunch of other information to get to on Monday night show. All right. At our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, we have the DVD bundle pack, The Africans Who Were Here Before Columbus, The Africans Who Were Here Before Columbus. This is a 8 DVD bundle pack and includes lectures I've done with Dr. David Imhotep, Professor Kaba Kamene. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, November 22nd, 2020, and we are live. Call-in numbers 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. And I want to remind you, we're here 6 days a week now as of October 12th, 2020. That's when we kicked off Monday through Friday. We're here 6 days a week now. So I've been doing the 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time slot here on 910 a.m. the Superstation WFDF in Detroit for 4 years. Now we're on 6 days a week, Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to 12 midnight. Set your alarms, put it on your calendar, write it on the Post-it note. 11 p.m. to 12 midnight Eastern Standard Time. And then still Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. as well. Okay, so we're here 6 days a week. You can listen to 910 a.m. Download the iHeartRadio app. You can listen to the shows on 910 a.m. They're live. And Reverend Al Sharpton is on Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Michael Bazin is on 1 a.m. in the morning. I'm on Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to 12 midnight. But then also we, the African History Network show, we have our own page on iHeartRadio as well. So I think they have about 300 archive episodes of my shows there as well. So you can download my shows from iHeartRadio. We're on 9 different audio podcast platforms, the African History Network show. Wherever you get your podcasts from, search for the African History Network show. We're on iTunes, Castbox, FM Player, TuneIn. So we're there. You can also go to AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Click on the homepage, listen to podcasts. Takes you to our Blog Talk Radio page, blogtalkradio.com/the African History Network show. So we have podcasts there going back to 2010. Okay, because that's where I upload my podcast to. And also follow us on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network. We're broadcasting there now. Turn on live notifications so you know when we go live, and subscribe there. And on my YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP, IMHOTEP on YouTube. Subscribe there. Turn on notifications also. We have the 8 DVD bundle pack, The Africans Who Were Here Before Columbus. The Africans Who Were Here Before Columbus includes some of my lectures and lectures I've done with Dr. David Imhotep, who wrote The First Americans Were Africans, Documented Evidence. Also a lecture I did with Professor Kaba Kamene, and there's a lecture in there from Dr. John Henry Clark as well, The Africans Who Were Here Before Columbus. Okay. Right before the break, we'll go back to the phone lines in just a minute. 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. And I'm going to go to the clip from Roland Martin Unfiltered in just a minute here, Jalen. Right before the break, we were talking about this big article from the Washington Post from Saturday, November 21st, 2020. I posted the article on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network. Anger builds in the Black community over Trump's claims of voter fraud in big cities. Anger builds in the Black community over Trump's claims of voter fraud in big cities. So Donald Trump kept talking about Black voices mattering when he attempted to make inroads within the African-American community, said Cavalier Johnson, who's president of the Milwaukee Common Council. Okay. Then he loses the election and turns right around and targets the same communities that these Black folks came from. Okay. Now, this is the same thing I said. When he wanted our votes, he came out with his fool's gold plan that he called a platinum plan. We've broken it down here. It's a little 2-page agenda. We broke it down here on the show. Compare that to Joe Biden's 22-page agenda that he has expanded. His agenda to empower Black America, called Lift Every Voice. We broken that down numerous times here on this show. You can go back and watch those archived episodes. When Donald Trump wanted to make inroads into the African American community, he talked about what he's going to do for us and came out with a 2-page platinum plan, things like this. Then he loses the election and turns right around and targets the same communities that these black folks came from. Now, Cavalier Johnson, who is African American, reflected deepening outrage over Donald Trump's push for a recount there in Milwaukee, okay, which some characterize as an attempt to disenfranchise black voters in a desperate and chaotic bid to stay in power, because he wants to stay out of prison, because he knows the indictments are coming, and they should. Don't do the crime if you can't do the time. Okay, so they should. He belongs in prison. Though Trump courted black voters and improved his showing over 2016, he and his allies are now trying to deny President-elect Joe Biden's victory in key battleground states by targeting ballots cast in heavily African-American cities such as Philadelphia, Detroit, Atlanta, and Milwaukee, arguing that these Democratic strongholds are hotbeds of fraud. Let me ask you a question. Of the 2 presidential candidates, only one of them told their voters to go vote twice. That was Trump in North Carolina. He actually told his followers in North Carolina to go vote twice. So you want to talk about voter fraud? There's only one candidate that encouraged their followers to vote twice. Georgia Secretary of State, Raffensperger, he came out and said Donald Trump would have won Georgia if he hadn't discredited mail-in voting. They said Donald Trump suppressed votes from his own followers. Now you want to talk about fraud in Atlanta, Milwaukee, Detroit? You suppressed votes from your own voters. That's how stupid you are. In Michigan, where Joe Biden won by more than 150,000 votes, actually won by about 154,000 votes, one of 2 Republicans on the 4-member Wayne County Election Board ordered to certify ballots from every county every community in the county except Detroit. Okay. The board ultimately certified the vote, but a state level certification decision set for Monday, November 23rd remains uncertain. In Pennsylvania, where Joe Biden is leading by about 80,000 votes, Donald Trump's legal team has argued that hundreds of thousands of ballots cast in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, where black people live, should be declared void because GOP election observers were not allowed to watch the votes counted. Now, the judges threw this case out in Pennsylvania. NBCnews.com, also Yahoo News, they reported, we posted these articles. Federal judge dismisses Trump election lawsuit in Pennsylvania. Federal judge dismisses Trump election lawsuit in Pennsylvania. Quote, this is what the judge said. In the United States of America, this cannot justify the disenfranchisement of a single voter, let alone all the voters of its 6th most populated state. Okay, here's what happened. A federal judge on Saturday, November 21st, dismissed a lawsuit filed by Donald John Trump, Benedict Donald, by his campaign in Pennsylvania, saying it contained, quote, strained legal argument without merit, end quote, strained legal argument without merit. U.S. District Court Judge Matthew Brann, Brann, turned down the request for an injunction, dealing another blow to Donald Trump's hopes of invalidating the election's results. In his 37-page ruling, U.S. District Court Judge Matthew Brann said the Trump campaign asked him to, quote, disenfranchise almost 7 million voters, end quote, and said he could not find any case in which a plaintiff, quote, has sought such a drastic remedy in the contest of an election, end quote. You know, maybe if you hadn't demonized African Americans so badly, maybe if you weren't trying to take away health care from 20 million people plus and a few million African Americans, maybe if you didn't mishandle a pandemic that disproportionately is negatively impacting and killing African Americans and Hispanics, maybe you would have done better. Maybe if you didn't discredit mail-in voting, okay, consistently undermining mail-in voting, maybe you would have done better. I doubt it, but you would have done better. You wouldn't have won. Because in 2016, when you asked African Americans, what the hell do you have to lose? I said the correct answer was everything. People understand what I was talking about 4 years ago. He asked African Americans, what the hell do you have to lose? Correct answer is everything. 41% of Black-owned businesses are out of business as of April 2020, based upon analysis from the New York Federal Reserve. Forbes.com has an article about this. That's due to the coronavirus economy. Well, hell, it's 41% out of business in April. It's November now. It's probably at least 50% today. Then on the other side of this pandemic are massive evictions and foreclosures. Now we know there's a eviction coming to some white people in the White House, but that's consequence of elections. That's not because of the pandemic. That's not directly because of the pandemic. That's because we voted you out of office. That's why you need to call the Jim, James, Paul, and Tyrone Moving Company. Call 1-866, call Tyrone so they can help you pack your stuff and move. Okay, you need to call the Jim, James, Paul, and Tyrone Moving Company. Set up an appointment for January 20th, 2021. And, you know, they're going to help you pack your stuff so you can move. Jalen, you had a clip from Roland Martin Unfiltered. You had it queued up?
Yes.
Okay, so on the November 20th, 2020 edition of Roland Martin Unfiltered, I'm a panelist on every Friday. We talked about Trump and these fake lawsuits. Okay, let's go to this clip. We have it coming up here. Queued up at the 21:28 mark. So we'll go to that clip in just a second. In Pennsylvania, where Joe Biden is leading by about 80,000 votes, Trump legal team has argued that hundreds of thousands of ballots cast in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh should be declared void because GOP election observers were not allowed to watch the votes counted. Okay, so that's what the lawsuit alleged. If we go back to the article from NBC News, just let me know when you have that clip ready. This deals with the federal judge throwing this case out. Okay, throwing this lawsuit out. With such a request, U.S. District Court Judge Matthew Brand said one might expect compelling legal argument. With such a request, Judge Brand said one might expect compelling legal argument, quote, and factual proof of rampant corruption, end quote, and factual proof of rampant corruption. They don't have any evidence. This is why all these lawsuits keep getting thrown out, because they're lying. They're lying. They're making stuff up. It's rumored, and it's been reported, Washington Post, other outlets, and MSNBC, that Rudy Giuliani is charging the Trump campaign $20,000 a day. Rudy is trying to get paid. That's what it appears to me. Could be wrong. Rudy is trying to bill. These are billable hours. Instead, Judge Brand added, quote, this court has been presented with strained legal arguments without merit and speculative accusations, end quote. He went on to say, in the United States of America, this cannot justify the disenfranchisement of a single voter, let alone all the voters of its sixth most populated state, Judge Brand wrote in his opinion. Now, the lawsuit claimed that some counties allow mail-in voters to cure problems with the ballots by casting a provisional ballot, but some counties did not, which violated the Constitution's guarantee of equal protection. But even if that were the basis for seeking some kind of order, Judge Brand said the remedy sought by the Trump campaign goes too far. He said, quote, rather than requesting that their votes be counted, they seek to discredit scores of other votes, but only for one race, the judge wrote. This is simply not how the Constitution works. So he's talking about for president. Okay. Now, the race they're talking about is president. They ain't talking about white or African or black race. They're talking about racial classifications. You're talking about political race. Here's what I don't understand. You have Trump and Rudy Giuliani claiming fraud, right? So you claim Democrats rigged the election, but they let Mitch McConnell win in Kentucky and beat Amy McGrath. You claim Democrats rigged the election, but they let Cindy Hyde-Smith beat Mike Espy in Mississippi for the U.S. Senate race. You claim Democrats rigged the election, but they let Lindsey Graham beat Jamie Harrison in South Carolina. You claim Democrats rigged the election, but they didn't rig it so John Ossoff would beat Senator David Perdue in Georgia, so it wouldn't have to go to a runoff. They didn't rig it so Raphael Warnock would beat Senator Kelly Loeffler in Georgia, so it wouldn't have to go to a runoff election. You claim Democrats rigged the election, but they didn't rig it in these House races, so Democrats that won seats in Republican districts maintain their seats because some of them lost their seats. This is how stupid this argument is. We had that clip ready, Jalen?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to this clip. This is from the November 20th, 2020 edition of Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go to this clip.
If you want to see one of the biggest suck-ups of all time,
Right.
it really has to be Geraldo Rivera. I mean, I'm just trying to understand how much all of this is costing him. Because, first of all, this is what this fool, and what's interesting that he put a video up 3 days ago actually saying this and people ignored it. So then he decides to go on Fox News today and actually says this. And you want to talk about just stucco, stupid. I mean, dude, seriously. I mean, was Vaseline used? I mean, my goodness. I mean, listen to this.
I had an idea, with the world so divided and everybody, telling him he's got to give up and time to leave and time to transition and all the rest of it. Why not name the vaccine the Trump? Make it like, have you gotten your Trump yet? No, it'd be a nice gesture to him. And years from now, it would become just a kind of a generic name. Have you got your Trump yet? No, yeah, I got my Trump. I'm fine. I wish we could honor him in that way because he is definitely the prime architect of this Operation Warp Speed, and but for him, we'd still be waiting, into the grim winter for these amazing, miraculous medical breakthroughs. So let's talk about what. I had an idea. When the world's so divided.
First, no. How about we name the virus after Trump?
Right.
I mean, 250,000 dead. We're gonna name that one after you. We're gonna call it the Trump virus.
Well, not only that, 250,000 dead. Yesterday, November 19th, you had at least 182,000 new cases of coronavirus. As of this morning, MSNBC reported that for Thursday was 193,000. That set a record. We're almost at 200,000 new cases in a day. Hospitals in rural areas are being overran. So they should call it the Trump virus. Since Trump likes to call it the China virus, call it the Trump virus because you mishandled it. And just as Herbert Hoover mishandled the Great Depression, he lost the 1932 presidential election.
okay, because he mishandled the Great Depression. You mishandled the coronavirus, which tanked the economy, and it cost you the 2020 presidential election. But, you know, Donald Trump talked about no vaccine. Now, I think he's trying to quote Ice Cube, no Vaseline, and got it confused and said no vaccine, number one, okay? Number two, I want him to still provide the evidence that he won the election. He keeps saying he won the election.
There's none.
But well, there is none.
There's none.
And then it wasn't a clown show that Rudy Giuliani did yesterday. That was an insane pop.
Well, first of all, if you call it a clown show, it's a gross insult to clowns.
It's a gross insult to clowns. That was an insane poppy clown show. Okay, he looked like he was auditioning for a Soul Glow commercial with Jerry Curl juice dripping down the side of his face. But the conspiracy theories that Rudy Giuliani is pushing, when they go to court and they file in court, they're not pushing those conspiracy theories in court. The attorneys for Trump are being asked point blank, are you saying, and Rudy Giuliani was just in court for the first time in 28 days, federal court for the first time in 28 years, a couple of days ago, did horribly. And Rudy Giuliani was asked point blank by the judge, are you alleging this was a fraud case? And he had to admit, no, it's not. So they're grandstanding and lying to people and lying to these idiots that voted for them.
And again, and how they're lying. The perfect example, idiot attorney Sidney Powell, who I don't understand how anybody can call her a legal scholar. I mean that's really an insult to scholars.
Exactly.
This is her talking to the Harvard-educated, but clearly in need of a lobotomy, Lou Dobbs. If y'all want to hear crazy, trust me, this ain't even puff, pass. This is, we've been snorting some serious stuff before we went on the air. Listen to this.
Joining us now by phone is Sidney Powell. She's a member, obviously, of the president's legal team, also General Michael Flynn's defense attorney, a great American, one of the country's leading appellate attorneys. Sidney, first of all, thanks. I know you are going every which direction right now, busy as you could possibly be. Let's start out right now with the president's path to victory here as you and the legal team see it. If you could give us just that canvas very quickly.
Well, yes, Lou. The entire election, frankly, in all the swing states should be overturned, and the legislatures should make sure that the electors are selected for Trump, and it's going to have to follow the constitutional provisions that it be decided according to the amendment. It's just
let's turn it to Smartmatic and Dominion. Are they or are they not linked?
All right. Hey, pause it right there, Jalen. Pause it right there.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so these are conspiracy theories they're pushing, but then today, Trump campaign, the Trump legal team said that Sidney Powell is not part of the Trump legal team. So then it's causing everybody to ask questions. Well, wait a second. Rudy Giuliani says she's part of the legal team. Lou Dobbs in his interview says she's part of the Trump legal team, but she's not. So something happened. Maybe they realized that they weren't getting their money's worth. Okay. 313-778-7600. We may have time for one more caller. Let me know if we have anybody. Let me see who we have here. Oh, maybe we do have callers. Okay. All right. I want to go to this. Let me see. We're going to next, I'm going to go to the clip from WXYZ, Reverend Wendell Anthony, the press conference they had, Jalen. We're going to go to that clip next. Let's go to the phone lines quickly here. Let's go to Kimberly. Hey, Kimberly, thanks for holding. Welcome to the African History Network show. Tell us where you're calling from, Kimberly.
Smyrna, Delaware.
You're in Delaware? Okay.
Yes, I'm in Smyrna, Delaware. Thank you so much for taking my call, Michael.
Okay. Oh, thanks. Thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to know, I have a question. The federal judges that have been appointed by, or help get appointed by Mitch McConnell, can any of them be impeached for, incompetence or?
Well, if they violate, if there's they commit crimes, if there's some gross violation, they can be impeached. But they were nominated by Trump, and then they're confirmed in the U.S. Senate. That's one of the reasons why the U.S. Senate is so important.
Right, exactly. And I just wanted to make a comment about voting, how really important it is for everybody to vote every time for your federal and state elections.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot tell you how frustrated I was in 2016. I had a couple of, I won't say you, but some people I know that said their vote didn't count. And I was just so frustrated that they really thought that. And I just kept
what?
And why are these things other people from voting? Your vote
Right.
matters.
Right.
And
So there are two things with that.
Everybody.
There are two things with that. There are two things with that. One, if your vote didn't count, why do people work so hard, especially Republicans work so hard to suppress your vote? And we can just look at what's taking place, what's unfolded here after this November 3rd election. Two, you have a lot of people that don't understand the political process. Three, some African Americans don't think their vote matters because they have been convinced that they don't matter. So they don't think that their vote matters as well. You know, when I talk about how the reason why many of our people don't fight back is because many of our people don't think they're worth fighting for, or they don't think people that look like them are worth fighting for. Okay, they weren't born that way, but they've been psychologically damaged by white supremacy and racism that has dehumanized and devalued us. Okay, so we don't think that our vote matters, or don't think we matter. Okay, so all right, well, that's good that you schooled them. Okay.
Yes, and I just want to say this election was the first time my daughter voted, and we were together, and I just love that she was so engaged. So
okay, that's good. That's good. Thanks for calling. Okay, thanks for calling, Kimberly. All right. Let's see, how much time we have left, Jalen? I think we have 5 minutes left in the show.
8 minutes.
8 minutes. Okay, let's go quickly. Let's go to we have John. We have John next on the line, or who do we have next? Is it John or D?
Yeah,
hey, John. Yeah, John. Hey, John. Oh yeah. Thanks, man.
Okay. I just want to say, Senator Powell and this parent who got his client call, they got a fact this afternoon, and she accused some of them down there in Georgia was being paid off. That's not a fact that started and so forth. It's somebody down there on the tape for taking money and so forth. I don't know who it was, Judy Hanley or whoever it was, but she accused some of them down there was taking money. So that's
taking money where?
In the big argument.
John, taking money where?
Georgia.
Oh, Georgia. Oh, okay.
Somebody would be paying off in Georgia. That's what she said.
Okay.
And so she done pressed a lawsuit against somebody who she said that was famous her and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So now there you go again, Jose. Thank you.
Okay. All right. That's it. Okay. That's a short one for John. All right. Call back tomorrow night, John. John is one of the loyal listeners of 910 AM Superstation. Okay. Let's squeeze in very quickly because I want to make sure I go to this clip here from Reverend Wendell Anthony. We got D. Do we have D next? Do we have D?
Yeah, we got D.
Oh, okay. Yeah, AD, welcome to the African History Network show. Yeah. Thanks for holding. Tell us where you're calling from.
I'm calling from ATL.
Okay, from Atlanta. Okay. Go ahead, man. We got about a minute. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead quickly with your question or comment.
I just got on your channel. Would you consider yourself a liberal or Pan-Africanist, or where's your school of thought?
I'm a Pan-Africanist. A person can be a Pan-Africanist and a liberal.
Hello?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, you're a Pan-Africanist and a liberal?
I said a person can be. I said a person can be a Pan-Africanist and a liberal. I said I'm a Pan-Africanist. I wouldn't necessarily say a liberal, but a person can be both.
So you're a liberal, though?
No, I didn't say I was a liberal. I said I'm a Pan-Africanist. I said a person. I said I wouldn't necessarily consider myself a liberal. What's your point? What are you trying to get at?
Because I mean, it seems like you're like I understand people if they have a gripe against Trump, but it seems like there's Democratic, like you're supporting Roland Martin and the whole Democrat, like black Democrat establishment.
No,
like
Roland's not a Democrat. I'm not a Democrat either. No, Roland's not a Democrat. That means you don't know him. Roland's not a Democrat. Roland has actually been very critical of the Democratic Party.
They're not identical, but they're synonymous.
No, Roland has been actually Roland has actually been very critical of the Democratic Party. Roland's a friend of mine, and we don't agree on everything. But
Roland is a big liberal. He's a liberal. He's a far left identity politics liberal.
So
and he supports everything: BLM, LGBT. Feminism, all that stuff that's anti-African, he supports it.
Well, you may support some elements of Black Lives Matter. Doesn't mean that you support everything. There's some elements of Black Lives Matter I disagree with. So it doesn't mean that you throw away everything.
The whole movement is a farce. The whole movement is a farce. And
there's some elements of Black Lives Matter I disagree with. There's some elements of, hold on, we're not going to talk at the same time. There's some elements of Black Lives Matter I disagree with. There's some elements of Black Lives Matter I've been critical of. Okay. But at the same time, I think, and also at the same time, everybody that's in the Black Lives Matter movement, a lot of them, some of them don't all agree, but if you have an issue with Roland, I suggest you take that up with Roland. But thanks for calling. All right, let's go to this clip here. This was at the press conference that took place this past Tuesday. Okay. No, Wednesday, this past Wednesday. Reverend Wendell Anthony, president of the NAACP Detroit chapter, and Mayor Mike Duggan held a press conference to talk about the Wayne County Board of Canvassers who the two Republicans who did not want to certify the votes from Detroit. Okay. There are 30 counties in Wayne County. There are 30 cities in Wayne County. Detroit is the largest city. So Reverend Wendell Anthony started talking about why a majority of African Americans who vote for Democratic candidates. Doesn't mean we love Democrats or may not even belong to the Democratic Party, but he talked about how it's about policies. Okay. Let's go to this clip.
I think it's very clear that it is not a party of inclusion, but of exclusion. The proof is in the pudding. Let me just say this, because a lot of people often talk about the fact that, black people are democratic and Democrats take them for granted and the Republicans don't take them at all. It is about policy. It's about policy. We look for those in the Republican Party to come up with policy that reflects who we are. What's your policy on health care? What's your policy on simply wearing a mask? What's your policy on income equity? What's your policy on education? What's your policy on police reform? What's your policy? If you got the policy, then we can find the practice of voting for folks who support policy. But when you look at the Republicans and their policies, and that's about their personalities, it's about their policies. They don't match up with the interests of the African American community. Years ago, they talked about doing an autopsy, but they must have failed with the autopsy. The body's still dead because there's no life as relates to bringing in African American folk or minorities. Why would you join something that considers African nations as whole countries? Black athletes as SOBs. black women as unintelligent and not prepared and less than. The first African American woman to be vice president-elect. You can't even acknowledge that. I mean, why would we join that? Why would we support the fact that you can't even call or say that Black lives matter? You can't even say that. And so it's about policy. So this certainly does not help the party of Lincoln. If you're the party of Lincoln, then act like.
All right, we're gonna pause. We'll pause it there. We'll pause it right there. Check that out at wxyz.com, channel 7. Duggan, NAACP on certification of election results. That was from, it was November, I think 17th, 18th, one of those days. Okay, and that was they have the full press conference there. All right, we're going to continue for a little while longer on our social media platforms. Follow us on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network on Facebook, and Michael Imhotep on YouTube, IMHOTEP. You can also donate to the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, and then through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show, or at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. And all of my DVD lectures and digital downloads are at our website as well. We'll be back Monday night. We're here Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to 12 midnight Eastern Standard Time, and Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's correct wrong behavior is not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you tomorrow night. Peace. All right, everybody, stand by. We're going to continue for a little while longer here. We'll continue for a little while longer here. We'll squeeze in this last segment. We'll get to Dr. Jeffrey Canada tomorrow. We'll do that on the Monday show. We'll get to this last segment here dealing with Garrett A. Morgan. Garrett A. Morgan. And we'll post a link to the November 20th edition of Roland Martin Unfiltered. Follow him on Facebook, Roland Martin on Facebook, and YouTube, Roland Martin on YouTube as well. I think it's Roland S. Martin on YouTube. Follow him there also. Okay. So I want to get to this topic here dealing with Garrett A. Morgan. So November 20th, 2023, November 20th, 1923, I should say. Garrett A. Morgan he patented the three-position traffic light, the three-position traffic light. Okay. So we didn't get a chance to talk about this on Friday's show, but we'll deal with it here today. So history.com talked about this. They deal with this day in history. They talked about it, history.com. And then there's a good article on Garrett A. Morgan on blackpass.org as well, blackpass.org. Okay. Garrett Morgan patents three-position traffic signal. Garrett Morgan patents three-position traffic signal. On November 20th, 1923, the U.S. Patent Office grants patent number 1475074 the 46-year-old inventor and newspaperman Garrett Morgan for his three-position traffic signal. Though Morgan's traffic signal was not the first traffic signal, the first one was installed in London in 1868. But Garrett Morgan's was an important innovation nonetheless. By having a third position besides just stop and go, it regulated crossing vehicles more safely than earlier signals had. Okay, so previous ones were just stop and go. The three-position one is green, yellow, red. That's Garrett Morgan's. Okay, the three-position traffic signal. So it wasn't the first traffic signal, but it was an improvement and innovation, and it was the three-position traffic signal. So Garrett Morgan was the child of two formerly enslaved African Americans, one born in Kentucky in 1877. When he was just 14 years old, he moved north to Ohio to look for a job. First, he worked as a handyman in Cincinnati. Next, he moved to Cleveland, where he worked as a sewing machine repairman. In 1907, he opened his own repair shop. And in 1909, he added a garment shop to his operation. The business was an enormous success. And by 1920, Garrett Morgan had made enough money to start a newspaper. The newspaper was called the Cleveland Call, C-A-L-L, the Cleveland Call, which became one of the most important African-American newspapers in the nation. So Garrett Morgan was prosperous enough to have a car at a time when the streets were crowded with all manner of vehicles, bicycles, horse-drawn, delivery wagons, streetcars, and pedestrians all shared downtown Cleveland's narrow streets and clogged its intersections. There were manually operated traffic signals where major streets crossed one another, but they were not all that effective. Because they switched back and forth between stop and go with no interval in between, drivers had no time to react when the command changed. Okay. I think in Harlem Nights, where they had a scene where Lady Heroin Sunshine puts the fake drugs, the sugar, in the back of Richie's car, and they're driving down the street and the light turns from green to red. Charlie Murphy, who's working with Richard Pryor, he switches it. I think that one was just a 2-position traffic. Like I think it was just red and green. Okay, with that one. All right. So you can imagine if you're just driving down the street and the light's green and then all of a sudden it turns red, it doesn't give you time to prepare to stop. All right. So the 3-position traffic light was a big improvement on that. All right. So because they had no time to react when the command changed, this led to many collisions between vehicles that both had the right of way when they entered the intersection. As the story goes, when Garrett Morgan witnessed an especially spectacular accident at an ostensibly regulated corner, he had an idea. If he designed an automated signal with an interim warning position, the ancestor of today's yellow light, drivers would have time to clear the intersection before crossing traffic entered it. So the 3-position traffic signal that Garrett Morgan patented was a T-shaped pole with 3 settings. At night, when traffic was light, it could be set at half-mast, like a blinking yellow light today, warning drivers to proceed carefully through the intersection. He sold the rights to his invention to General Electric for $40,000. Okay. Now, a lot of people may say, well, when we look at a lot of African-American inventors, okay, we see that a lot of them sold the rights to their invention. They didn't reap all the benefits from their invention. They sold the rights to a corporation. A lot of that has to do, there's a couple of things, okay? One, it has to do with capacity and having the resources to be able to mass produce your invention, to be able to market it, okay? And then to be able to defend that market share. So a lot of African-American inventors didn't necessarily have a background. Number one, didn't have the funding to be able to mass produce it like that and be able to market it, getting into store shelves or what have you, being able to market it and then compete against competitors. A lot of them didn't have the financial wherewithal to do that. So they may sell it to a corporation that can do that. Okay. The other thing is, some of them, if their background's not in business, their background's not in manufacturing, things like this, they may not have the knowledge of understanding mass production, marketing, defending market share, setting up a business like that on that type of scale. Okay. I was watching a interview with it was an African-American man who invented the if I remember correctly, the timer on VCRs. And I think he also invented something dealing with remote control, something like that. He's an African-American inventor. And he talked about why a lot of African-Americans who are inventors don't reap the full financial benefits from their inventions. Okay. And a lot of that has to do with lack of capital to be able to mass produce the invention, get it in the stores, market it. Then the other thing is, if you come out with an invention, say for instance, video games, and Jerry Lawson invented the first video game console that used interchangeable cartridges for interchangeable games. He was an African-American man, African-American inventor. When you create something like that, right, they're going to be competitors that come into the market to try to eat your lunch. So it's not just understanding being able to mass produce and market the product, but then you have to also be able to defend your market share and fight off competitors. And a lot of those competitors are going to come from major corporations that have the money to be able to do that. Okay. So there's different dynamics here with this. And then some of the inventions are going to be made by African Americans who are working for corporations, and they may create an invention. And then when they create the invention, it's quite possible, and in some cases it is, depending upon like what type of contract they have, what type of agreement they have with the corporation, that invention may belong to the corporation as well. So it depends upon their contract. They created it working for a corporation. They created it on company time. It's different if they created it on their own time at home, in a laboratory at home or what have you. But if they invented something while working for a corporation, right, in the company's labs or what have you, then usually, and it could vary based upon their contract with the company, but usually that invention will belong to the corporation also. So those are different dynamics that you deal with. So check out the article from history.com. Garrett Morgan patents 3-position traffic light, November 20th, 1923. That's from history.com. Also, we know today's the anniversary of President Kennedy being assassinated, November 22nd, 1963. Then blackpast.org has an article on Garrett A. Morgan Sr., who lived from 1977 to 1963. And this gives some background information on him as well. So blackpast.org has about 6,000 pages of African-American articles dealing with African-American history and African history. Blackpast.org is is a really, really good source for reliable information, not a bunch of conspiracy theory nonsense stuff, but some really good information. Blackpast.org. Okay. So check out blackpast.org, but they have an article in Garrett A. Morgan Sr. He was born about 1877, dies 1963. So he's born approximately, it says circa, so he probably didn't have a birth certificate. So he's around 1877, born basically 10 years after, it was 1877 is when the Compromise of 1877 happens, which ends Reconstruction, and he's born basically 12 years after slavery ends. Inventor, entrepreneur, and publisher, Garrett A. Morgan Sr. received patents for a three-position traffic signal and a safety hood that was designed to aid breathing in smoke-filled areas. He gained national attention when he utilized his mask to rescue men trapped during a tunnel explosion in 1916. And I'm not sure if there have been any movies about Garrett A. Morgan. That'll make a good movie. The invention of you could do it on Garrett A. Morgan, his inventions, the traffic signal and the gas mask, or we can just center on one, but that'll make a good movie also. Garrett Augustus Morgan was born in 1875 or 1877 in Paris, Kentucky, to farmers Sidney and Elizabeth Morgan. Garrett received an elementary school education and left home at the age of 14, finding work in Cincinnati, Ohio as a mechanic. In 1895, he moved to Cleveland, Ohio, where he worked for 12 years repairing sewing machines, and in 1901 invented a sewing machine belt fastener. In 1907, Garrett Morgan established his first business, a sewing machine sales and repair shop. He soon expanded with a tailoring business and later the Morgan Skirt Factory, S-K-I-R-T, the Morgan Skirt Factory, that employed more than 30 people. His second major discovery came while exploring a way to reduce friction between sewing needles and woolen fabric. He found that a chemical solution he developed to straighten the woolen fibers or textiles also straighten hair. In 1913, Garrett A. Morgan formed the G.A. Morgan Hair Refining Cream Company that sold a line of hair care products. So he's basically credited with creating I don't know if it would be, I've seen it said to be the first hair straightener, may not be the first chemical hair straightener, may not be the first, but one of the first. It wasn't Madam C.J. Walker. Because from what happened was he had the chemical concoction that he created. It was on a sewing table or something like that. And he got up to go from the sewing, to leave from the sewing table. The chemicals spill over onto the fabric. And when he comes back, he sees that the strands of the fabric are standing up straight. They're straightened. Okay. So from this, he's going to develop this hair straightener. So in 1913, Garrett Morgan formed the G.A. Morgan Hair Refining Cream Company that sold a line of hair care products. So during the same period of time, Garrett Morgan was working on other projects, including a breathing device that will protect firefighters against smoke inhalation. In 1914, he received a patent for the Morgan Safety Hood and formed the National Safety Device Company, generating interest in his invention through demonstrations at public safety exhibitions. It was used most notably on July 25th, 1916, when he was asked to help rescue Cleveland Waterworks miners trapped in a tunnel beneath Lake Erie. So Garrett Morgan and his brother Frank, along with another volunteer, used the safety mask to descend into the tunnel and rescue several survivors. During the next decade, Morgan continued to invent while publishing the Cleveland Call newspaper, which was a weekly African-American newspaper he established in 1916. It became the Cleveland Call and Post newspaper in 1929 and is still in publication today. He was also at work on other solutions to modern day problems, including traffic safety, after witnessing an accident between a horse and carriage and an automobile. In 1923, he received a patent for the G.A. Morgan safety system, the G.A. Morgan safety system, which was an improvement on prior traffic signals that included a caution indicator for all traffic to stop simultaneously. Other inventions included a women's hat fastener, a curling comb, and a cigarette extinguisher. Suffering from failing health in his later years, perhaps due to exposure to chemicals while testing his safety hood, Garrett Morgan died on July 27th, 1963. July 27th, 1963. So he died a month before the March on Washington. His papers are in the archives of the Western Reserve Historical Society in Cleveland, Ohio. So check out this article also from blackpast.org. So blackpast.org has a lot of good articles there. They have 6,000 pages of articles dealing with African-American history, blackpast.org. This one is on Garrett A. Morgan Sr., 1877 to 1963. All right. So let's see. The rest of this we'll get to tomorrow night. We'll talk. We got through most of it tonight. Let me double check something here. Make sure I got through most of what I wanted to get through. Georgia Secretary of State certifies election results, making Biden victory official. Okay. That's abcnews.go.com. We posted that article also from ABC News, November 20th, 2020. Later in the week, we're going to deal with this study from the American Medical Association. The American BusinessInsider.com has an article about this from November 17th, 2020. We'll talk about this later in the week. The American Medical Association officially recognized racism as a public health threat, saying it creates and entrenches health inequality. The American Medical Association officially recognized racism as a public health threat, saying it creates and entrenches health inequality. Okay, so we'll talk about that later in the week. One of the shows this week, we'll get to that. Okay, we talked about that. All right, I just want to make sure I got through. Okay, most of the one I want to get through. All right, so we'll be back Monday night. Also, you can donate to the African History Network, $, the AHN Show through Cash App, $, the AHN Show through Cash App, and then also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show, paypal.me/the AHN Show. And follow us on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, and on YouTube, Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. Because right now, it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you tomorrow night. Peace.